Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy, and today we're going to talk about UFC Vegas 73, Mackenzie Dern versus Angela Hill, and it's going down this Saturday night live at the Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. Two ranked strawweights going at it. You got one of the best Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt women on planet Earth. I mean, a former world champion in Jiu-Jitsu, not MMA, taking on Angela Hill, who has always had a knack for the Muay Thai skills. And she's been patching up so many areas of her game. She's been around the block since the beginning of the infancy of the strawweight division. So Angela Hill is a true OG, and Mackenzie Dern, a lot of people have had high expectations for her since the moment she joined the UFC. And now they meet in a 5-round main event. So I'm excited to break it down. We're going to break down the entire card as well. Y'all already know the drill. So let's get down to business. Main event of the evening in the strawweight division. We got Mackenzie Dern. She's 12-3, taking on Angela Hill, who's 15-12. And currently, they got it Mackenzie Dern minus 175. The comeback on Angela Hill is plus 150. So initially, it opened relatively the same, minus 188 Dern, plus 140 Hill. So, it's been roughly the same thing this whole time. It's an interesting matchup for a lot of reasons. I don't really listen to what anyone has to say, not because I don't care what other people have to say, but just more so like, I like to gain my own thoughts. But I would assume people are saying that, well, if Mackenzie Dern gets it to the mat, she's going to win. And if Angela Hill keeps it standing, she's going to win. And it's just that simple. Like that's what this matchup comes down to, right? And I'm not sure it's so black and white. And what I mean by that is this. I think that there's a world where Angela Hill can go to the mat with Mackenzie Dern and still win this fight. Let me explain what I mean. Y'all saw the two fights that Mackenzie Dern had against high-level strikers, against Yan Xiaonan, the future champion, and Marina Rodriguez, a very respectable opponent. And both of them went to the mat with Mackenzie Dern. In fact, both of them were in big trouble at points in that fight on the mat with Mackenzie Dern. And here's the bottom line. They survived. The next round starts on the feet. From there, we know Mackenzie Dern doesn't have the best takedown game, just to put it lightly. And when you want to look at the stats, if you want to talk stats, so what do y'all think Mackenzie Dern's takedown accuracy is? It's only 11%. And how many takedowns do y'all think Mackenzie Dern averages in 15 minutes? Now, this is a 25-minute fight, but in 15 minutes, how many takedowns do you think she averages? Less than one. So, and to take it a step further, Angela Hill, someone who was regularly getting tapped out at the beginning of her UFC career, she's patched up a lot of things to the point where now she's got a 77% takedown defense. That's closer to 80% than it is to 70. So I'm pretty damn impressed with what I've seen lately. So it comes down to a couple of things for me, obviously like any fight does, right? But I think that if it goes to the mat, right? Are we talking insta sub for Mackenzie Dern? Are we talking 10-8 rounds for Mackenzie Dern? Or are we talking Angela Hill can survive those bad spots? She knows she's got 5 rounds to work with. And when they get back on the feet, I can definitively say that Angela Hill is much more, just precise, technical. The variety of strikes she brings to the table are on a different level than Mackenzie Dern in terms of the Muay Thai. So that's the thing, right? That's the thing. And shout out to, future strawweight queen, Yan Xiaonan, because she was a white belt when she fought Mackenzie Dern, right? And what a better way to earn your blue belt than, hey, you want your blue belt, Yan Xiaonan? Well, survive on the mat with Mackenzie Dern and we'll give it to you. And that's exactly what happened. So like when you talk about, because I know there's a lot of examples where like, people don't really deserve their promotions or, certain favoritism or certain this or that. Nah, there was none of that with Yan Xiaonan, man. She, like I said, she survived on the mat as a white belt against Mackenzie Dern, who's a world champion black belt. And that's how she earned her blue belt. So I couldn't think of a better way to earn a blue belt than that. And then with Marina Rodriguez, when she got taken down, or when she ended up on her back, rather, against Mackenzie Dern, were there some sketchy moments? No doubt about it. It's just that Mackenzie hasn't really, leveled up the wrestling side of things, because in the pure jiu-jitsu tournaments, you're able to kind of pull guard, sweep, take it from there. And I'm not saying that she can't do that here. I think there's absolutely a chance she can do that here. It's just that in MMA, it's a lot harder. If someone, if you're trying to butt scoop like Kron Gracie, or like Mackenzie did in her last fight with Jan, I mean, it's not like in jiu-jitsu where, do y'all remember that match Brendan Schaub had against Abreu? I think it was Cyborg Abreu, right? Where he literally just ran away from him the whole time, and like people criticized the fuck out of him. Like, so in jiu-jitsu, you're going to kind of get looked down upon for that. Whereas in MMA, like if you want a butt scoop, like I'm just going to circle around, make you get back up, and then you got to stand with me. And like I said, on the feet, the difference here is about the same as the difference on the mat, in terms of the calibers. But that being said, I mean, I got to give Mackenzie credit, even though her striking isn't the prettiest. She does have a little pop, for that division. I've seen her go out there and knock women down, which is something we don't often see in the strawweight division. So while I don't think that she can win prolonged exchanges with Angela Hill, possibly she can land a big shot and rock her. That's possibly. That's best case scenario for her on the feet. So it comes down to this in my eyes. Like back to what we were talking about. When this finally hits the mat, and there's 5 rounds where Mackenzie can accomplish her goal here of submitting Angela Hill, pounding her out, or winning 3 of the rounds and get a 48-47. When they hit the mat, is Angela going to survive like Marina Rodriguez and Yan Xiaonan did, or is Angela getting submitted? And that's where I don't know. That's where it's like, shit. I mean, that's why we tune in, because we really, I don't know. Do y'all know? I mean, can y'all say without a shadow of a doubt that this hits the mat, that Angela is getting subbed for sure? Let's take a look at the last time Angela got subbed, because I know back in the day it used to be a big issue, but it's been a fucking while. I mean, listen. Angela got taken down 3 times against Virna Jandiroba, who's also a legit black belt, and she didn't get subbed there either. Now, granted, there were no submission attempts. It was just more control, but just saying. So the last time that Angela Hill got submitted was all the way back pre-pandemic in 2019 against Randa Marcos. And then prior to that was all the way back in 2015 against Rose Namajunas. So it's been a long ass time since Angela Hill's gotten submitted. And so to me, it's just, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I really don't know. Like, because these are, like I said, these are the scenarios for me. On the mat, are we talking insta sub? Are we talking banking 3 rounds? Are we talking ground and pound TKO? Or are we talking Angela Hill survives these bad spots? The next round starts on the feet. That's where she has got a clear edge, bust her up, and, go out there and win this decision. So I don't fucking know, man. This is tough, because it's like a thing where it's like Mackenzie, you can make the argument Mackenzie is so good on the mat that she only needs that one time, to potentially, whether it's grabbing a neck, whether it's grabbing an arm, shit, a knee bar, whatever the case may be. She only needs one of those. And I'm also curious what Mackenzie learned after the Yan Xiaonan fight. Does she feel like she needs a little more urgency now? Does she feel like, hey, it's not enough to kind of ride these rounds out? We need to go out there and try to finish. But at the same time, that would be, almost categorically false of me to say, in the sense that if you think I'm implying that Mackenzie wasn't trying to finish her last few fights, that's bullshit. She had 2 submission attempts against Yan Xiaonan. She had 3 submission attempts against Tisha Torres. She had 1 submission attempt against Marina Rodriguez. So she's been trying to finish these fights. So I guess it's like, where do we see the big improvement? Like, what kind of improvement are we talking about Angela Hill on the mat? Because, like I said, she hasn't been submitted since pre-pandemic, and she survived with another serious black belt in Virna Jandiroba. And we've also seen good strikers like Yan, like Marina, who I think are better than Angela Hill, but still the blueprint's been laid out on how to beat Mackenzie Dern. I don't know, man. I'm not interested in betting this fight because it's like the volatility, man. It could just literally go either way. And usually when I talk like that, I lean towards the dog. It's just that the way the dog would lose here would be, would be getting finished, man, or lose 3 of these rounds. So it's tough. It's tough. I guess it's a dog or pass situation, unless you're just so convinced that Mackenzie is going to make it count, is going to come out here, finally get that submission that's been eluding her, not for so long, but, ever since the Nina Nunes fight, was that the last time? And that was how long ago? That was, okay, not too long ago, 2021, but Nina, she's retired already. She's already having her second kid. Not that Angela Hill's some spring chicken, not at all, but I still think Angela Hill's committed to this game. Now, granted, Angela Hill is 38, so she's getting up there in age. So it's a tough one to call. I guess I'll go with Dern to find something along the way or possibly bank 3 of these rounds, but I'm worried. Her takedown offense is not good. Her striking defense is not good, but her jiu-jitsu is phenomenal. So, again, do we think that Angela Hill can survive the bad spots like Marina and like Jan did? If so, she's got a very good chance here. Or do we see it as, listen, Mackenzie's just on a different level than Angela on the mat, and when we get to those bad spots, she's going to come out here and submit her. So I don't know. I really don't fucking know, man. This fight could go either way. I'm going to go with Mackenzie via sub, but I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. Choi B said Dern is undergoing a divorce. She might not be focused. Yeah, she might not be focused, but if she gets full mount or a back mount on Angela Hill, she could not be focused and she might still submit her. That's how good her jiu-jitsu is. So yeah, I apologize that I don't have a clear read on this one. I really don't know, but I'm being honest with you. I'm not going to bullshit y'all. I really don't know. So I guess that makes it an intriguing main event. A lean Dern, but it's a lean, and the price is what? The price is minus 175. There's no value at that line for me, but maybe for you there is, because maybe you've concluded that she's going to take her down and tap her out. But if y'all feel like Angela Hill can come out here and follow that Yan Xiaonan and Marina blueprint, that game plan, she's live because she's way better on the feet. So yeah, tough one to call. I'll lean Dern. Co-main event of the evening in the middleweight division, we got Edmen Shahbazyan. He's 12-3, taking on Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, who's 10-2, but he's actually 11-2 because he knocked out Jordan the Beverly Hills Ninja on Contender Series. But he was smoking the level. He was smoking the devil's lettuce, so they overturned that destruction. Currently, they got it. Anthony Hernandez minus 225. The comeback on Edmen Shahbazyan is plus 185. So now I think the line is about accurate. Earlier when it was in I think it was like minus 3 something earlier. That's when I was kind of like, I don't know. But see, here's the thing. Both guys have different areas of the game, different holes that each guy can exploit. Like, for example, Edmen Shahbazyan, I mean, he's hell on wheels in that first round. We all know that. We know that he's a very dangerous guy. He's a potent finisher, but we also know that for the most part, when fights go past the first round with Edmen, shit gets sketchy, sans the Dalcha Lungjambula fight, right? But another thing, Dalcha Lungjambula doesn't have that relentless takedown game that Anthony Fluffy Hernandez brings to the table. And Anthony's a guy that, after he beat Rodolfo Vieira, man, I feel like his confidence just went all the way to the top, man. Because think about this. So he was coming off a brutal loss to Kevin Holland, brutal in the sense that the fight only lasted 39 seconds, and brutal in the sense that Anthony Hernandez landed a grand total of 0 strikes in that fight. But he bounces back against Rodolfo Vieira. And if you can go out there and submit a guy like Rodolfo, I mean, what that has to do to your confidence just has to make you feel like, well, if I can submit Rodolfo Vieira, I can submit anybody. That's probably how he legit feels. And just knowing that you belong and knowing that, hey, I paid my dues, I'm ready for this. I mean, Anthony Fluffy is a guy that beat Brendan Allen on the regional scene. Don't forget about that. So he comes back after the Rodolfo fight. And takes down Josh Fremd 8 times in that fight. Josh Fremd, former D3 wrestler, I believe. Like, y'all can talk shit. Oh, he's D3. That's why he's not D1. Or like, dude, to be a D3 wrestler still means you're a badass. I'm going to tell y'all that right now. And then the next fight against Mark Andre Barrio, he does the same shit, man. He goes out there, also takes him down 8 times. So he's landed 16 takedowns in his last 2 fights, but that's not how many takedowns he's attempted. Against Fremd, he goes 8 for 11. That means when you can attempt 11 takedowns at middleweight, let's talk about the lower weight class. In the lower weight classes, that's impressive. But at middleweight, god damn, son. And then he goes in there against Powerbar, Barrial, goes 8 for 14. Like, when you can attempt that amount of takedowns, you're going to break your opponent because your opponent might stuff the first few and they might feel like, okay. But when Anthony shows that, hey, I'm not discouraged, I'm going to keep coming forward, I'm going to keep trying. It doesn't matter if you stuff the first few. That's where opponents start to break, because it's like, man, what do I got to do to stop this guy? And we've seen Edmen Shahbazyan break in multiple fights, especially past the first round. Now, here's the thing. Anthony, in the past, he's been susceptible to the body. I'm not just referring to the Kevin Holland fight. I'm also referring to the Marcus Maluko fight. And all y'all remember Marcus, dangling off his neck, but y'all don't remember him badly hurting Anthony Hernandez with body kicks. Hernandez was also hurt in the John Young Park fight. And that's not to take away from these guys. These guys are hard hitters, but just saying, Edmen Shahbazyan's a very hard hitter as well. Edmen Shahbazyan's got a lot of knockouts, a lot of first round knockouts to be exact, and Fluffy's durability. So it's like, with Fluffy, it's the durability I'm concerned about. And with Edmen, it's the heart and the will when things get tough that I'm worried about. So I see this first round being kind of tough, but if Anthony can survive that, that's where I think he's going to be able to kind of break Edmen, kind of, latch up the takedown attempts, eventually get those takedowns, tire him out, break him, and extend his win streak. So I'm going to go with Anthony Fluffy Hernandez to defeat Edmen Shahbazyan. Now, featured bout, we got in 120-pound catch weight. We got Emily Ducote. She's 12-7, taking on Loopy Godinez, who's 9-3. Currently, they got it Loopy Godinez -160. The comeback on Emily Ducote is +130. Another interesting matchup, because it's kind of like Loopy Godinez. I know a lot of people are like super high on her, and I respect her in the sense that she's always taking these short notice fights. And, she's got that Mexican spirit about her. I like that a lot. But, man, I feel like she's still developing, She fought life and death with Cynthia Calvillo, who's on a 5-fight, skid, who's probably retiring soon. And then the Angela Hill fight, Angela showed her a vet lesson. It showed her, yeah, your wrestling ain't good enough for me, she even lost to Luana Karolina, who, is kind of a mid-tier fighter. And that was the last time that she needed a catch weight, I think, or at least needed to be up a weight class. And then when you talk about Emily Ducote, she's someone that paid her dues outside the octagon, man. She's someone that, fought the right people on the regional scene, had the ups, had the downs, came into the UFC at the right time. I like her striking game. She's got decent volume on the feet. In her UFC debut, she landed 116 significant strikes, which those are the numbers we love. And even in her fight against Angela Hill, despite getting more than doubled up on strikes, she still landed a decent amount, for someone that's, on a different level in terms of the striking caliber. But Loopy Godinez is not on that level. And in addition to that, guys, Loopy Godinez does not necessarily have the volume as far as what I've seen to match Emily Ducote. So it could be a situation where maybe like Loopy kind of gets these takedowns early, or maybe early it's kind of like, who got that round? Some people scored this way, some people scored that way. But the longer the fight goes, and I'm not sure if this read is correct, but the longer the fight goes, I do think that there's a chance that Emily can kind of start to chip away, piece by piece, chop down on those calf kicks, land the cleaner combinations, stuff some takedowns, kind of discourage Loopy a little bit, and then win the second and third round and go out there and win this decision. Like, I'm not convinced she wins, but I am kind of sold on it possibly being 1-1 going into the third round. And in those kind of fights, you probably want to side with the dog. So for that reason, I'm going to go with Emily Ducote to win this decision over Loopy Godinez. Now, next up in the welterweight division, we got the welterweight debut of Joaquin Buckley. He's 15-6, taking on Andre Fialho, who is 16-6. Currently, they got it Joaquin Buckley minus 225. The comeback on Andre Fialho is plus 185. So shout out to one of my boys who steamed that Buckley line. He got it like, I forgot what he got, what, minus 160 or minus 170, minus 180, whatever. He steams the shit all the way to minus 225. So he did his job. At that line, I understand. But here, now, there's a lot more volatility. When you're talking about minus 225 and plus 185, like, I know Andre's not been in his best form as of late, and he's taken a substantial amount of damage his last two fights. But Andre Fialho can still crack, and Joaquin Buckley's been put out 4 times. Now, I'm not saying that Fialho is Mr. Durable either. He's been knocked out his fair share of times, including his last 2 UFC fights. So it's kind of a thing where I think that in the pocket exchanges, like just hands in the pocket, I actually think Andre Fialho has the chance to catch Buckley, but kind of on the outside and the more volume-based way of winning. That's where I favor Buckley. I think he's the faster guy. I think he's got better volume. I think 170 is the right weight class for him. I'm just worried about these pocket exchanges for both guys, to be quite frank, but more for Buckley, because from the outside, that's where I really think that Buckley's going to be able to kind of run away with this thing. It's just if he's kind of underestimating Fialho coming off 2 knockout losses, and he thinks that, hey, I'm going to stand and bang with this guy. Then it's a 50-50 fight, and either guy could go down. But Buckley comes in here with the right game plan, out volume this guy, stay on the outside, and don't get into these stupid pocket exchanges. Then I do think it's a good fight for Buckley. But listen, Buckley, like I said, he's been knocked out 4 times, and Fialho is a knockout artist. So if you feel like, man, these plus 190 odds, I'm willing to roll the dice, go for it. I go for it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to stop you. But pure pick Buckley, but I mean, I missed the line a long ass time ago, so I'm not interested in betting it, but pure pick Buckley. Now, next up, kicking off the main card in the lightweight division, we got 2 vets, 2 OGs. We got Michael Johnson. He's 21-18, taking on Carlos Diego Ferreira. Diego BJJ. He's 17-5. Currently, they got it Diego BJJ minus 150. The comeback on Michael Johnson is plus 125. This is a fantastic fight because Michael Johnson is, for the record he has, he's the best guy of all time with a record like that. And you already know his resume. You all know the fact that he knocked out Dustin Poirier, the fact that he beat the shit out of Tony Ferguson back when that meant something. You know that he beat Edson Barboza in Brazil. Like, man, like Michael Johnson's got a resume on him, and he's been stacking up some nice wins as of late, man. A little late career resurgence. But I don't know if I want to call it a resurgence, because Michael Johnson's always kind of been, a hot and cold, hit or miss type fighter. That's literally always been the case. Win some, lose some, and you got to respect it, because he's always fighting the toughest guys for the most part on planet Earth. So 2 guys I have the most respect for. I know that Diego Ferreira hasn't looked as good as last few fights. He's kind of pushing 40 now. Not that Michael Johnson's a spring chicken, but just saying, I fully acknowledge that. But you also got to take into account that the last 3 matchups he had, while I'm not gonna, brush the damage he took, just take that in one ear and off the other. It's not gonna be any bullshit like that. But I do want to say, Beneil Dariush, I mean, y'all know he's a way better grappler than Michael Johnson. Gregor Gillespie, y'all know that he's a much better wrestler than Michael Johnson. Mateusz Gamrot, y'all know he's a much better grappler than Michael Johnson. So what I'm saying is there wasn't really much of a chance for, Carlos Diego to kind of show his amazing Brazilian jiu-jitsu game against those guys. And granted, he actually did show some good scrambles, especially against Gregor, against Beneil, the Mateusz fight. See, I'm trying to figure out if Gregor maybe took a little thing out of him, because that fight was life and death until the very end. Y'all got to check out that Gregor versus Diego fight. Oh my God. But the Mateusz fight, it was the the knee to the rib, and then, you know, a submission to strikes. It was kind of, but, you know, he's taken some time off since then. He didn't fight at all in 2022. So hopefully he's been getting his body right. I expect him to come out in better shape in this one for sure. You know, I think that he needs this. His back's up against the wall. So the thing is, on the feet, while Michael Johnson clearly has a massive speed advantage over Carlos Diego, Carlos is kind of sneaky with his striking, man. It's like slow but methodical, right? Like y'all saw his fight with Taisumov. I mean, Taisumov is much more explosive and fast twitch and all that stuff, you know, compared to Diego. But Diego was able to find ways to tag him up with his methodical style. And we've seen, even though Michael Johnson has that reputation, they call him Blackie Al because of how fucking fast his hands are. I mean, you also saw Darren Elkins, you know, getting off on some shots against him too. So it's tough. Like, where's Diego at, right? But honestly, man, I think that Michael Johnson probably, you know, gets the better of some of these early exchanges. But this is a spot where one back take, one submission attempt, one just dominant position on the ground, and that could be it. Diego Ferreira is that good. We're talking about a guy that beat Gary Tonin in pure grappling, right? And if he's hungry, motivated, you know, took his time off, is coming back out here, you know, ready to go, I think Diego Ferreira gets it done. You know, I'm not willing to roll the dice myself just because of his current form, but who knows? He's taken over a year off. Maybe he's figured some shit out. Let's see. I'm going to pick Carlos Diego because I think in both of their primes, Diego wins this fight. But who knows? You know, Michael Johnson's a guy, when I pick him to win, he loses. When I pick him to lose, he wins. So let's see. I'm going to go Carlos Diego Ferreira for the win. Now, next up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Maheshate. He's 9-2, taking on Vyacheslav Barshov, who's 6-3. Currently, they got it Hayashire Maheshate. Well, he's the dog. He's plus 130. And Vyacheslav Barshov, the favorite, is minus 160. So what's interesting about this fight is that, so Barshov's gotten exposed his last few fights, and the way he's gotten exposed is he came into the UFC as a guy with good striking credentials, but man, his takedown defense is absolute trash. His get-up game is not the best, but I will give him credit on this. His submission defense is pretty good. The guy's good at surviving, and hopefully with the work he's been putting in with Uriah Faber and all them, it can get him to a point where now he can start getting back up from bottom. And if that's the case, then I think he can maybe stick around in the UFC for a couple more fights. But if this, you know, gaping fucking hole on the mat keeps showing itself from Barshov, he won't be in the UFC this time next year. I'll just tell you that straight up. But what makes this matchup interesting, guys, is that Maheshate, now I'm not saying he can't come out here and throw a curveball, but in 3 octagon appearances, 2 in the UFC and 1 on Contender Series, he's attempted a grand total of 0 takedown attempts. So basically on paper, it seems to me like these two are going to stand and bang until one man falls. Both guys got a lot of power. You know, Maheshate is going to be the longer guy here, you know, 6 feet with the 71-inch reach. But I think Barshov is kind of the more experienced kickboxer, kind of the more cleaner guy here. So if they stay standing, I do have to favor Barshov. But if Maheshate wants to throw a curveball and get this to the mat, I mean, the blueprint's been written on how to beat Barshov. So another one where great matchmaking, you know, because I don't feel like I have an edge on most of these fights, but great matchmaking. I'm going to go Barshov, assuming that Maheshate doesn't, you know, find ways to take him down or attempt takedowns. Like I said, his last 3 fights, he hasn't attempted shit. Now, where do we line the possibility of Maheshate catching Barshov? Because it's still 4-ounce gloves. They're still going to crack. I mean, dude knocked out Steve Garcia, who's no slouch, who's been doing his thing lately. So who knows? But from what I've seen, I kind of think Barshov is just slightly ahead of him in the striking department, and I foresee this being a striking match. So for that reason, I'm gonna go Vyacheslav Barshov. Now, next up in the strawweight division, we got a matchup between Karolina Kowalkawicz, who's 14-7, taking on Vanessa Demopolous, who's 9-4. So we got Poland versus Greece. Currently, they got it Karolina Kowalkawicz minus 135. The comeback on Vanessa Demopolous is plus 110. I will always have a soft spot in my heart for Karolina Kowalkawicz for when she went out there at UFC 201 in Atlanta, Georgia, and cashed a plus 215 underdog bet for me against Rose Namajunas. So I've been a fan for life just for that. Even when she went on her 5-fight skid, I was still rooting for every fight, minus the Yan Xiaonan fight, of course. And then with Vanessa Demopolous, you know, I'll tell you what, man. So she is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and she does have some nice stuff on the ground. On the feet, it's still developing. But what I like most about Vanessa is she brings the effort. She's going to try. She's going to give it all that she's got. And I think that's why she won some of these fights where people kind of felt like she lost, like the Jin Yu Frey fight. But like you watch the fight, and man, like it didn't look the prettiest. You know, like I'll admit that. But man, she just gave that extra bit of effort, which swayed the judges to her favor. Look, if this was in both their primes, I mean, I'd pick Karolina without hesitation. I'm still going to go with Karolina because I like the fact that she got back on track. Hopefully her confidence is coming, is kind of rising a little bit. And she's not fighting the upper echelon anymore. She's no longer in there with the Yan Xiaonans, the Andrades, and all the other great fighters. And that's not to disrespect Vanessa. Like I said, I love her attitude. I love the fact that she's a go-getter. She's going to try her best. And maybe that's enough to out-hustle Karolina. It might be, but I think Karolina, at her best is just ahead of Vanessa Demopolous, to put it lightly. So I'm going to go with Karolina via decision. Now, next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Orion Cosce. He's 8-1, taking on Gilbert Urbina, who's 6-2. Currently, they got it Orion Cosce minus 120. The comeback on Gilbert Urbina is plus 100. Man, this is the lowest level fight on the card. And this is one that's almost like borderline, not to disrespect the fighters or the matchmakers, but it's borderline embarrassing. Like these two won't even be in an NFC main event. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, with the it's like, what's funny? It's like, Cosce, there's two Cosces, right? The Cosce brothers. I think the Cosce brothers are frauds. And then Gilbert Urbina comes from a fighting family too. I think the Urbina brothers are frauds. So, I mean, to me, it's like, Orion, has maybe got a bit more wrestling, but he's got gassing issues. And Gilbert Urbina, might be kind of the more dangerous guy. He's finished more fights, this and that. Also a former middleweight, so he's dropping in weight. But he's a guy that can't wrestle, So it's like, do you favor the gasser or do you favor the guy that can't wrestle? I don't fucking know. Let's see what the coin says. The coin says we're going to go with Orion Cosce to win this fight. And I cannot wait to fade both these guys in their next fight. It's like, don't give me, the two frauds against each other. Give me a fraud versus someone, that's unknown, that's legit. And then we fade them both. But when it's fraud versus fraud, I mean, I'm good on this. I see a lot of action on Urbina. At least y'all beat the line. Y'all did your job there. But, I'm not in the business of betting either of these guys in UFC fights. So I'm good. I'm passing. I'll lean Cosce because of my coin flip. Next up in the heavyweight division, we got a matchup between Ilir Latifi, 16-8, taking on Rodrigo Nascimento, who is 9-1. Currently, they got it Rodrigo Nascimento minus 200. The comeback on Ilir Latifi is plus 165. So this is interesting, especially with a line like that, because it's like, how do they truly match up, right? So obviously, when you just talk about the physical attributes, Nascimento 6'2" compared to Ilir Latifi's 5'10", which between you and me, Latifi's 5'7", 5'8", and then it's 80-inch reach versus 73-inch reach. It's natural heavyweight versus former light heavyweight. And then you take it a step further, the volume difference. I mean, Ilir Latifi's volume is non-existent. Rodrigo Nascimento's got way more volume than him. But on the flip side, Ilir Latifi's got better defense. He absorbs less strikes. And the big one I want to bring up, and this is something that one of my friends brought up to me that I thought was such a good point, is that Rodrigo Nascimento hasn't been in there with anyone that's going to try to take him down. So that's what makes this interesting. So what happens when Ilir tries to get that one takedown per round? Is he going to be able to, come out here and get that? Because we haven't seen Nascimento be tested in terms of his takedown defense. So that's where it gets kind of interesting. So it's a tough one for me, and I'm not even sure how this fight's going to play out. I'm going to lean with Nascimento just because I think that, he's 10 years younger. I feel like he's got more upside. He's the bigger man, this and that. But listen, I bet on Nascimento against one of the worst fighters on the roster at the time named Alan Badeau, and Nascimento made me sweat. I mean, his chin is not the best. He overcame it. He's got heart. I love to see it, but there's a lot to be worried about with him. And then back to my point, how's his takedown defense? We just haven't seen it. So makes it tough. I'm gonna lean Nascimento just because of the youth and the upside. And I think Ilir's kind of on his way out, but I don't know because like I said, I bet on Nascimento against one of the worst guys. And he almost gave me a damn near, cardiac arrest, and knock on wood, that never happens to any of us. Right. But just saying maybe that was a bad joke, but I'm just saying I don't trust either guy. One's on his way out, and the one that's not on his way out has given me scares. So I don't know. I'll go Rodrigo Nascimento. Now, next up, the one you've all been waiting for. Everybody do me a huge favor. Before I talk about so dude said wouldn't be NFC main event, dog. I saw some cab drivers name 0-0 versus 1-1. Yeah, but wasn't that like an amateur fight? So NFC's been holding amateur fight nights, and they've been holding the pro one. So yeah, you put some amateurs in there. It is what it is. And don't be talking shit about my boy Marcus Leach, because he would absolutely whoop your ass. But I feel where you're coming from. But I mean, I think that Orion, Cosce, and Gilbert Urbina. Back to your point, man. These guys aren't winning NFC belts. Period. And I would put money on that. Yeah. Anyways, back to this, because I can get sidetracked by all this. But I mean, you do bring up good points, but you just got to put context on it. Was it an NFC amateur event or was it an NFC pro event? Because my boy Jesse Wabel, the matchmaker, he started his new Jesse Wabel's amateur series where they just give a spotlight to the amateur fighters. It's not like the numbered NFC cards where the pros headline it. So you just got to put context in that. But before I talk about the people's main event between Chase Hooper and Nick Fiore, I want y'all doing me a huge favor and smashing the like button for me, please. And also hit the subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I really appreciate that. And lastly, when this is done, please leave me a comment below. Whatever you want to say. Just leave me a comment. All right. So next up in the lightweight division, we got Chase Hooper, who's 11-3-1, taking on Nick Fiore, who is 6-1. Currently, they got it Nick Fiore -135, and the comeback on Chase Hooper is +110. Let's talk about this. So I understand why people want to fade Chase Hooper. I mean, the guy's a walking punching bag. And I mean, it seems like his striking defense hasn't gotten any better. And at some point, it's like, how long can we keep giving this kid chances? But here's what I've noticed with these Chase Hooper fights. When guys beat Chase Hooper, they're able to neutralize his game, and they're able to bust him up standing and just really treat him like the punching bag he is. And his jiu-jitsu threat is no threat whatsoever against these guys, right? Like Bruce Leroy. You think Chase Hooper's jiu-jitsu is a threat there? Even Ocho Peterson, who I know just retired and is a slow guy himself, but that's still a guy who had twice the experience, is also a black belt. So it's just different because this is the first time in a while where Chase Hooper is not just the more experienced guy. He's got more than double the fights of Nick Fiore. So it's going to be nice for Hooper to be the more experienced guy. But back to the point. What kind of guys do I like to bet on, or do I like to pick against Hooper? Like, what do I look for if I want to pick against Hooper? I want someone that's going to stuff his bullshit takedowns and bust his ass up standing. That's exactly what I want. So I looked up Nick Fiore, and we can write off that Rebetsky fight or whatever, man. I mean, he got his ass whooped. He didn't show shit in that fight, but yeah, Rambetsky would fucking kill Chase Hooper. So yeah, we can write that off. But I watched Nick Fiore's fights, two of them besides Rambetsky. One of the JLS fight, one of them, and the fight he had right before he got signed to the UFC. And I'm not going to be one to discredit his regional opponents. Yeah, they all sucked, but So what? It's the regional scene. Get your experience in, get your finishes, and make your way up to the UFC, and then you'll start fighting the tough competition. So I'm not going to be the one to hold his competition against him. What I will, however, bring to the table is this. So when I talk about like, picking against Chase Hooper, I need someone that's a threat standing. So when you look at Nick Fiore's record, his fight right before his UFC debut, he won via first round TKO. So I was like, okay, perfect. So his stand-up must be good, this and that. I'm going to pull up that fight. Let's see how he busted this dude up. And actually, Nick Fiore, he didn't drop the guy. He wasn't tagging him up standing. Nick Fiore actually took the guy down, passed his guard, and pouted him out. Nothing wrong with that. I love it. But just saying, don't be confused by the fact that that it says he got a first round TKO, and don't let that make you think that he's some kind of striker, because what Nick Fiore is he's a guy that likes to scramble. He's a guy that likes to play off his back. I'm not talking about that Rambetsky fight. Go watch his amateur fight when he got slam KO'd. I haven't heard anyone talk about that. The guy loves to play off his back. The guy loves to get into scrambles. So if he's better at jiu-jitsu than Chase Hooper, then he might win. But like, again, when I think about guys that I'm picking to beat Chase Hooper, I need someone that's going to bust his ass up standing. Can y'all point to anything that shows Nick Fiore's got dangerous striking? If you can, leave me the link, because I'd love to watch it, because everything I've seen is Nick Fiore is a guy who's in a rush to get the fight to the mat, create these scrambles, and do it from there. And isn't that like Chase Hooper's game? So literally, I think Nick Fiore's style goes right into Chase Hooper's game. I mean, I think that Nick Fiore is going to come out here and try to scramble with Chase Hooper. And if he's the better black belt, then so be it. Then maybe he can win the fight. But from what I've seen on the mat, Chase Hooper, he's got ridiculous flexibility. And in that Felipe Colares fight, firstly, rest in peace, Felipe Colares, man. What a tragedy. And man, just the thoughts and prayers bullshit is annoying because it doesn't do anything, but positive energy to his family and his friends. I don't know what to say, but it's just a tragedy all around. But back to this. So like, from what I've seen, Nick Fiore is not a threat standing whatsoever. So Nick Fiore likes to get into these scrambles, and scrambly fights are Chase Hooper's forte at the lower level. So, I mean, I think this kid's going to play right into Chase Hooper's wheelhouse. So, and Chase Hooper moving up to 55. A lot of people say it's a bad thing. Yeah, it's going to be a bad thing when he fights someone not named Nick Fiore, but like, at least he doesn't have that ridiculous weight cut anymore. You got to take it into consideration. He's 6'1". He's a big boy. So he's going to grow into this frame. He's not necessarily the most athletic guy or anything like that, but just saying, like, I don't think it's a bad move for him to move up, man. Like, let's eliminate those weight cuts. Maybe you can take punches a little better, but back to how they match up. Like, Chase Hooper wins fights when you try to scramble with him. And I think that's exactly what Nick Fiore is going to do. So I see Chase Hooper coming out here and winning this fight. Like, I get it. If you just fade Chase Hooper every single fight at good odds, you're going to, be on the right side of the coin long term. I'm just not convinced this kid Fiore's ready for the UFC at all, man. And the most important point, his style ties right in to Chase Hooper. This kid's not a threat standing, and this kid wants to scramble. That's what Chase Hooper wants to do. So for that reason, I'm going to go with Chase Hooper. But again, if y'all got footage of Nick Fiore's stand-up and you can prove to me that he's a threat standing, I'm open to changing my stance, because I'm not going to plant my flag on Chase Hooper and act arrogant about, a dude that's a walking punching bag. I just think that he's the much better scrambler. I think he's the better black belt in jiu-jitsu. And for that reason, I think he's going to win this fight. So Chase Hooper's my pick. Now, here we go. Next up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Natalia Silva. She's 14-5, taking on Victoria Leonardo, who's 9-4. Currently, they got it Natalia Silva minus 900. The comeback on Victoria Leonardo is plus 575. So people are wondering, like, why they set up this mismatch and this and that. Guys, this is why. Natalia Silva is supremely talented, but she's still building her brand. The casuals don't really know her yet. So what we're going to do, I mean, I think this is the game plan, is we're going to give her these Victoria Leonardos. We're going to give her Mandy Bohm right after that, and then you take it from there. You let her perform how she should perform. Let her get these highlight reel finishes. And then we move her up into the rankings, into the bigger fights once she gets her name up there a little bit more. So that's just all this is, because Natalia Silva is ready for the top 15 right now, as far as I'm concerned. It's just, again, let's build this profile. Let's let her feel comfortable inside the octagon. Let's get her a couple more highlight reel finishes so we can hype up those bigger fights down the line. And that's what they're doing here. Look, respect to Leonardo. She's a vet of the game. She's been around a long time. She's been susceptible to that high kick in multiple fights, whether it's Manon Fiore or whether it's Aaron Blanchfield, who are both studs, of course. But I think Natalia Silva is a stud as well, man. And I think that Natalia Silva is, I mean, unless she just didn't take this seriously, which would be very uncharacteristic, because I know she's in the gym nonstop, and I know that she has ambitions to make it to the top 15. Not even, fuck the top 15. I know she's got ambitions to one day fight for a belt. And we know for a fact, Victoria Leonardo, for her to scratch the rankings, that hell would freeze over, right? No disrespect. Just, again, back to my point. We're going to give you this Leonardo fight. We want you to make a statement. Then we're going to give you Mandy Bohm. You make a statement there, and then we build you up in those kind of bigger fights that we think you're ready for now, but you just got to build your profile a little bit more. And once you do that, we're going to hand you those fights. So Natalia, this is yours, baby girl. So I hope you go out there and show us what you're capable of. I mean, her takedown defense is so on point. Her striking, I mean, when's the last time you saw a chick go out there and get a spinning back kick to the face knockout? Like, I love everything about her. Her personality is great. She made the effort to learn English. Like, she's got star potential. So let's see how she handles these next few fights, and we'll take it from there. I'm very impressed with Natalia Silva. Last but not least, in the welterweight division, kicking off the card, we got Takashi Sato representing Japan. He's 16-6, and he's taking on Themba Gorimbo, who's 10-4, representing Zimbabwe. That's pretty cool. Japan versus Zimbabwe. Is that a first in the UFC? Currently, they got it. Wow. Minus 110 apiece. Minus 110 Sato, minus 110 Gorimbo. So here's my thing with Sato, man. Like, when he first came to the UFC, I always thought that, like, this dude is a heavy hitter. Like, even in that fight he lost against Glaico França that went into the fourth round, like, man, he was cracking hard. Like, this dude, he's got a nasty straight punch. I'm pretty sure he's a southpaw, right? So that'd be a straight left. His straight left is nasty. My issue that I've had with Takashi is the volume is on the super low side. And when I say super low side, like, what do y'all think off the top of your head the most amount of strikes that Takashi's landed in a UFC fight? And anyone want to take a guess? It was actually against the best opponent he's ever fought, the future welterweight champion Bilal Muhammad. Takashi landed a grand total of 29 strikes. You know what I'm saying? So this guy is super low output, but he's a very heavy hitter when he actually decides to let his hands go. And he's got that judo background, which means that from time to time he will hit some of those judo throws. Not always, but his takedown defense, he's got like a good solid base. He can be taken down, don't get me wrong, but he's got a solid base from that judo background, and he trains with good people at Killcliff, Sanford MMA. And then with Themba, when Themba got signed, I was shocked he got signed, because y'all know, like, how high I am on the African fighters, whether it was me hyping up Sodiq Yusuff before he was even in the UFC. I had Sodiq Yusuff on Half the Battle before he even fought Mike Davis on Contender Series. Y'all know how I felt about Razak over the years, even Francis when he was on his come up, man. So I've been very high on the African fighters. And I mean, this is not respectful what I'm about to say, but I mean this in the, I guess, most tongue-in-cheek way that will not get my ass whooped if I run into Themba on the street. But I kind of feel like Themba was kind of like the runt of the litter. We don't see that crazy explosiveness. We don't see that crazy athleticism. We don't see just those shit moments that we're expected to see from a lot of the African fighters that I'm high on, man. But here's the thing. Takashi's coming off one of those knockout losses where it's like, how do you rebound from that? And it's been less than a year. And it wasn't just, you just got caught, whatever. It was shin to chin. Like, he was out for a long time after he hit the mat. And it wasn't just like, the like I said, shin to chin. It was also back of the head to canvas. two brutal impacts. And didn't he eat a follow-up as well? So I don't know where his confidence is at, man. And Themba, again, back to that NFC talk, him and Orion, Cosce, and Urbina definitely ain't headlining any NFC events anytime soon. But I think he should kind of be the more confident and more just hungrier fighter here. Because, is Sato really... let's say Sato trained his ass off for this camp, but when Sato actually gets in there, when he steps in there, how do the demons of that last loss not play? You have to be so mentally strong to brush off what just happened to him and to just act like nothing happened and have zero hesitation when you go out there. Because I just see that, I just see a lot of hesitancy from Takashi Sato. And Themba is not the best. Themba will be faded again, no doubt. I wouldn't even be surprised if he lost this fight, man. You know what I mean? But I just think confidence-wise and will and kind of who wants it more and who's willing to push that extra mile at this point in their respective careers, I'll go with Themba Gorimba to get it done. So, yeah. MMA Locker Room saying, Dan, you're good from Atlanta. You're good. You're from Atlanta. You got Africa with you every day. We got you with us. Hey, listen, man, I've been invited to the barbecue for many, many years. You already know what it is, my man. So listen, y'all, I'm going to talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch. And then after that, I'm down to answer all your questions, read your comments. We'll take it from there. So right now is a good time for y'all to leave me a little something in the comment box that you want me to get to, whatever it may be. Ask me anything. And then please smash the like button. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And like I said, when this is over, leave me that comment. And if you want to take it a step further and want to share this video, man, that'd be incredible because I don't got anybody else sharing my shit except me and y'all. So it's amazing what we've developed over these years. So the fight to watch for UFC Vegas 73. I mean, there's a few of them, whether you're talking about Diego Ferreira versus Michael Johnson, whether you're talking about Andre Fialho versus Joaquin Buckley, but I think I'm going to go with the co-main event between Anthony Fluffy Hernandez versus Edmen Shahbazyan, because Anthony Hernandez, he was a champion in another organization, comes to the UFC, he's been hit and miss, but it seems like he's finally finding his stride. Whereas Edmen came into the UFC and, he had the whole, I'm going to be the youngest champion in UFC history talk, had a massive hype train behind him and got derailed, especially when fights go past the first round. So this is a huge fight for the trajectories of both these guys' careers. And for that reason, Anthony Fluffy Hernandez versus Edmen Shahbazyan is my fight to watch. And my fighter to watch, Natalia Silva, but she's minus 900s. But still, let's not eke out a decision. Let's go out there and make a statement. But what about Chase Hooper, man? He's a dog to some dude we've never heard of. I mean, I say that tongue in cheek. We know who he is, but still, come on. He was minus 3 something versus Steve Garcia, who was a proven fighter, a real fighter. Now he's a dog to a guy that is inexperienced, and is not a threat standing whatsoever. Let's see what you do with this opportunity, Chase. I'll have my eyes on this. Plus, MMA Twitter is going crazy about this fight. So that's my Chase Hooper's my fighter to watch. Let's see. All right. Now, question time. I'm going to scroll up to the top of the chat. I'm going to see what y'all got to say. I'm going to address that. And last call for questions. Get them in. All right. Professor Chaos says, he gave a great quote. He said, "You will show your poker greatness by the hands you fold, not the hands you play." I think that's a great point. I took last week off because I didn't feel like I didn't identify the value properly, which I regret because Lisboa was a fantastic bet. I should have taken that. I might have even should have bit the bullet on Ian Gary on that minus 300 because he looked minus 3,000. Colby says, "What's up, Dan? Look forward to the breakdown. I appreciate that." The kid said, "What up, Dan? What up, man?" Die Hard said, "Let's go, Dan. Let's go, Die Hard. Let's fucking go, Ghost Gardner." I appreciate y'all. Rushan Joseph said, "Been watching you for months now. First time catching you live. Keep up the great work." I appreciate the kind words, and I appreciate you tuning in. He also said he ordered a GLD chain because of my recommendation. I hope you like it, man. Tell me what you think, man. You know them shits, man. In person, y'all that met me in Charlotte this past weekend, the cameras don't do it justice. In person, man, this shit's shiny. We love it. So let's see what else we got. A bunch of Dern and Hill talk. Mr. Always Prophet said, saw an interview of Dern saying she is looking to score more points than going for subs, but she also said Perillo hasn't been coaching her much. He was with Rocco in bare knuckle fighting, and she had a divorce issue. Yeah, I'm not really worried about the divorce issue because, like, if she takes Angela's back and attempts a rear naked choke, the divorce issue isn't going to mean shit there. You know what I'm saying, man? So it just comes down to where this fight takes place and what happens, you know, in those situations on the mat. My boy Marcus Williams, he said James Lynch's new interview with Derns has a lot of red flags. She admits to having a shaky training camp and her head coach hasn't been there for her. That sucks. But can she still get it to the mat and submit her anyways? That's the big question, right? But yeah, no, I feel you. I mean, it might be a dog or pass situation. You never know. So Mr. Always Prophet said, hit the like. You know how I fuck with this guy. He's very right. Rick the Ruler said he's taking the money line on Hill. Hey, I don't blame you. I mean, the blueprint's been laid out. If she can do what Xiaonan and Marina did, hey, you just got to survive one or two bad spots. Because on the feet, she's got a big advantage. Rips and Picks said, what up, Dan and chat? Bit of a weak car this week, but let's get that money. Let's. Mr. Always Prophet said, I'm looking to parlay Edmen up here. Talk to me, Dan. I get Edmen is young, but even his last performance versus Dalcha, I wasn't impressed. Yeah, but bro, like parlay an underdog of that size, just play it straight. Just play it straight. Take two underdogs, risk the same amount on both. You only need one to win for a profit. Both win, red panty night. So you don't need to be getting degenerate and parlaying underdogs. Like, yeah, if you hit one of them once in a while, cool. But like, y'all seen that these fucking 10-team parlays, unless you get lucky, you know, they call it lottery shots for a reason, man. So I don't think that's a very profitable strategy going forward. But you want to take that dog shot, I don't blame you on that. Oh, my bad. He said I meant parlay Fluffy up. Okay. Well, he's definitely got a huge path to victory, especially if he decides to be relentless with his takedown attempts. So let's see. He also says Buckley is a good player. Yeah, I know some very sharp people that bet him when the line was playable. And then I saw some other people that posted tickets on like the like the line that was 50 cents better on Buckley like 2 days after the line moved to like minus 225 or whatever. It's crazy the kind of shit. It's crazy the kind of shit I've been seeing on MMA Twitter. And y'all got to call it out, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, could you imagine what would happen if right now I tweeted that I made a bet on Buckley like minus 160 to minus 180? You know, people would come after me in a way where I might just single-handedly ruin my reputation. I would never do some shit like that. That's why, like, I have no issues passing if I miss the line. It is what it is, man. This is a long-term game, and I know it's easy to throw that term around, but like, I plan on being here 10 years from now. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm gonna be gambling then too. So let me find my spots. My boy MMA Locker Room said, I'm the only here to see that Dan Atlanta Braves hat with the peaches. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, dog? Best team in baseball. Mr. Prophet says he agrees that the Gregor fight might have taken a lot out of Carlos Diego. Yeah, it might have. It might have. Let's see. Dirty Reg says he's gonna do the roll of the dice on Themba. Yeah, I mean, I get it, especially after what his opponent's coming off of. But you know, just don't blame anyone but yourself if Themba shows that, you know, he really is the run of the litter and doesn't belong in the UFC. But let's see. I'm picking him because the other guy, where's his confidence at? You know. Alsoi says shout out to Battle. Shout out to Brian Battle or to Half the Battle. Either way, shout out to both of us. Thank you very much. Yeah, Quantum agrees with me. Exactly. How do you recover from that? I mean, that head kick was fucking brutal, man. So he said Sato decided to stay in the States to train for this fight instead of going to Japan for the death of his father. Man, condolences. That's terrible. But yeah, he's been training at Sanford Killcliff for a long time. But man, like we saw similar things with Jeon Kim. She missed someone's funeral and then that bullshit happened. So even though it's like, you want to root for him, kind of like when Walt Harris came back from that tragedy, but the universe doesn't always allow beautiful moments to happen. So just keep that in mind. Ghost Gardner says, being a BJJ guy, do you find yourself siding with the grapplers, submission fighters over the strikers when the MUs are like they are this weekend? Take it matchup by matchup. Take it matchup by matchup. That's all it is, bro. And even though I'm a jiu-jitsu guy, I don't like watching jiu-jitsu. I like competing and training and teaching jiu-jitsu, but I don't like watching it. I think it's boring to watch. It's not boring at all to fucking participate in, I'll tell you that much. I fucking love it so much, but I'd much rather watch MMA. But back to your question, matchup by matchup. Matchup by matchup. That's it. MMA Locker Room said Gina Mazzani or Tony Kelly for life advice. I mean, Gina Mazzani might have one useful thing for us, whereas Tony Kelly has none. So, no life advice from either, but maybe something else. Dennis said most likely to get a takedown on the card. Let's see. Fluffy Hernandez. I think someone in the Hooper and Fiore fight is going to get a takedown, and I won't be surprised if Natalia Silva got one either. Renee said, Dan the man, about to watch your show right now. Appreciate you, Rain Man. Thank you, bro. Also, he asked me, how's the real estate going? It's going well, man. It's going well. Just a couple more things I need to iron out, and I'm right there. But, it's got good contacts, and I'm in a really good place. So I really appreciate you asking that. My boy, Tehran. It's been a while since I've seen you in here, Tehran. He said, what's going on, bud? Chilling, man. I appreciate you being in here, for real. All right. So I guess that's it. Thank you guys very much. Dirty Rex said, great show. Thank you. Ghost Gardner said, great show this week. MMA Locker, when will we see Shaq back for one show? Y'all ask me this like this is like my choice. Dude, Shaq retired from podcasting. Shaq left the show. So, I mean, I'm grateful for his time on the show, but like, y'all are asking the wrong dude, man. I don't fucking know. Y'all got to ask him that question, But, I mean, the show must go on and the show will go on, just like I'm not going to really get into it much because I felt like I was badly discredited when that whole thing went down, like acting like, like I didn't start this fucking show like a couple years prior to him joining, but I got all the respect for him and he was a great part of this show. He's so super knowledgeable on MMA and he's just a good dude. So I respect him a lot, but just make sure you get your facts straight in terms of the chronological history of this show. And know that the show must go on. The show will go on, and I'm always down to deliver for you guys. So thank you. Uncle Weezy said, thanks, Dan. No, thanks, Uncle Weezy. Let's get you on here soon. Addicted to Combat. Cheers, Dan. Hey, let's get you on here too, man. I appreciate you having me, last week or whenever it was. Tehran said, don't you have Mexican in you? Yeah, my mom was born and raised in Mexico, and my grandmother, rest in peace, was born and raised in Mexico, but I'm first generation American. So yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate you guys. Smash the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave me a comment when this is over. And if you're so inclined and you want to be very nice, share this. That'd be great too. So thanks again. Capping Service says, appreciate the content. Capping Service, I appreciate you enjoying the content. I appreciate you appreciating the content. Thank you all again. So best of luck to y'all. Have fun this weekend. Enjoy the fights. And let's cash these bets.